The Justice Department is announcing that we have secured a consent decree to resolve our findings that Maryland State Police discriminated against Black and female applicants by using hiring tests that unfairly and unlawfully excluded them from employment. Under this agreement, the police will adopt new tests, extend priority hiring opportunities to previously disqualified applicants after they complete the new and lawful selection process, and distribute $2.75 million in relief to people unfairly disqualified by the old test. Our investigation found that Maryland State Police's hiring practices for entry-level troopers violated Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits employment discrimination based on race, sex, color, national origin, or religion. The old hiring tests that prompted the investigation here did not distinguish between candidates who could successfully perform the job of a trooper and those who could not. This made the test not just ineffective, but unlawful. The underrepresentation of Black and female applicants in law enforcement undermines public safety, runs contrary to the principle of equal opportunity, and fails to reflect the rich racial and gender diversity of our communities. The Justice Department will continue its work to ensure equal access to employment opportunities for all Americans.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. On this episode of Cuckoo for Cocoa Puff World, we have to go out to Maryland because the Biden administration, the Biden DOJ, is suing the state police of Maryland over what they allege as racist hiring practices, okay? Discrimination against Black police officers and women. And why are they alleging racism and discrimination? Well, they're alleging racism and discrimination because apparently the Black applicants could not pass a written test that's basically a math test, okay, at the same rate as whites. 91% of the whites passed the test. Only 71% of the Blacks passed the test. So therefore, racism, okay? And the applicants were allowed to take the test up to 4 times in a year, right? And you only needed 70% to pass, right? And if you couldn't pass the test after 4 tries, you were eliminated. There were people that were eliminated, okay, and they were Black, and they went to the Biden DOJ, and the Biden DOJ says, that's racist, okay? You were discriminated against. You can't make this stuff up. And when it comes to women, the physical test apparently was discriminatory against women, right? So police have to take a physical test in order to become police officers. They have multiple times to be able to pass it, okay? And women were failing at a higher rate than men. And the Biden DOJ said, well, that's sexist, right? That's discrimination, right? That's bigotry. So they sued the state police, and now the state police is paying a $2+ million settlement over the alleged discrimination. You can't make this up. You cannot make this up. You cannot make this up, man. I cannot believe we're living in this country right now. But, you know, hey, this is what's happening in America. So without further ado, let's get into it.
State police are agreeing to pay $2.75 million to victims of what the Department of Justice alleges was race and gender discrimination in the way state trooper candidates were tested and hired. All right, we're going to bring in Pamela Wood now from our media partner, the Baltimore Banner. Good to see you, Pamela. She's been writing about this, and let's first off start with giving us some background on this case. So who was being discriminated against and how?
The U.S. Department of Justice conducted a 2-year-long investigation, and what they found is that Black applicants and women applicants were unfairly disadvantaged in the hiring process. That a written test for troopers, more often the Black candidates were failing the test compared to white candidates, and then a physical fitness test. Also, women applicants were failing that more often than white applicants, and that constituted an illegal form of discrimination.
In your article, you cite the fact that as part of the settlement, state police are now going to have to craft some new tests for prospective troopers. I would assume that would be written and physical. So what do you think they will look like? Do we have any idea?
Yeah, the Maryland State Police is now about to embark on that process, and they've been given instructions that the tests have to coordinate with what troopers actually do in their jobs. The old tests didn't really measure the right skills and qualities that an applicant has to have. So that's what they're going to be looking at as they spend the getting that process going, coming up with a test that's more fair to all types of applicants.
What are they going to do in the meantime? Because I'm sure people are still applying.
Yes, that's right. The Maryland State Police Superintendent Colonel Roland Butler said today that it is going to take some time. The next two recruit classes that they send to their academy probably going to be using the old tests, but with supervision of the Department of Justice. And for the physical fitness test, they're not going to use the time limits that they had before for how fast you run a mile and a half or how many sit-ups you can do in a certain time. They're going to relax those standards a little bit, but still monitor them as they go forward.
And this money will be split among the candidates who filed this lawsuit, right?
Yes, so they estimate that there are about 4 dozen applicants who probably should have been allowed into the academy but weren't because of these flawed tests. Now, the process will be to identify those folks, figure out how much the damages are, but it's estimated to be all combined up to $2.75 million.
All right. Great reporting as always. Thank you very much for joining us, Pamela. To learn more about this.
Wow. Incredible. Incredible. This country is falling off a cliff. And honestly, guys, as a black person, I have secondhand embarrassment. I really do. This is not like the first type of story that I've covered where you have alleged racism happening because black people can't pass a test at the same rate as whites. Okay, I think I covered a story maybe a year ago. Might have been less than that. Social workers, apparently they got to pass a test as well too. And black applicants weren't passing the test at the same rate as whites. And therefore, they said, well, it's racism, right? It's racism. Black people fail tests at a higher rate than whites, right? This is essentially what the argument is, okay? They're claiming that the tests are racist, right? They're racist, okay? And the physical test is sexist against women, okay? So let's take a look at some of these test questions here, and let's see if we can find some of the alleged racism, right? You guys tell me, okay? This was one of the test questions. On Tuesday, Officer Jones worked the 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. shift. At 10:55 p.m., he was called to the scene of an accident where he remained until 11:30 a.m. How long past his regular shift did Officer Jones work? Yeah, so these are the questions, okay? Now, the obvious answer here is his regular shift ended at 11 p.m. If he worked to 1:30, then he worked 2 hours and 30 minutes past his normal shift, right? I mean, I don't know. Y'all tell me, right? If you think that this is a stumper, right? Is this so difficult? Apparently, this is discriminatory against black people, right? This question. Again, you have to be embarrassed if you're black. You should be embarrassed by this, okay? These types of stories, this is not good, right? It's not good. Let's see if another question will stump us here, right? An appliance store is burglarized and 21 clock radios with a total value of $1,050 are stolen. What is the average value of the radios? Wow, such a hard question. Okay, so let's see how we solve this here. Okay, now the way I would solve this is that I would divide 1,050 because that's the total value of all the clock radios by 21, right? You have 21 clock radios, okay? And again, the total value is 1,050, and that's how you get your answer. Now, that answer would be 50. Now, if you didn't know that, what you also could do in order to get the answer, and this is something I used to do on tests as well too, is that you could take 21 and you can multiply that by all of the answers here. And whichever one of these answers results in 1,050 is your answer, right? So what the answer would be is B, right? It would be 50, okay? I mean, I don't think this is that difficult, right? I really don't. Now, I can understand why some people may have some trouble with division here, right? If you don't have a calculator, I get it, but there's ways around it, right? There's ways around this, okay? And if you can't solve basic math problems like this, then I'm not sure if you should be a police officer. Okay, I'm so serious. And some people may say, well, this has nothing to do with your job. Well, I don't know, man. If you don't know how to do basic math when it comes to your overtime, okay, then maybe you're not qualified to be a police officer. I don't know, right? But what I do know is that when you're lowering standards for who can become a police officer, then you're going to get worse policing outcomes, which is funny to me because these people claim that they want more qualified police, but at the same time, they want to lower standards for people to become police officers, right? This is the thing I don't understand about the people that are so anti-police, right? They want police to essentially be super soldiers, okay? They want them to be psychiatrists, counselors, social workers, in shape, right? They want them to be like Spartans, right? From Halo, okay? Spartans from Halo, like Master Chief, right? This is what they want, okay? Every single last one of the police officers to be superhumans. But at the same time, they want to defund the police. They want to take away money from the budget, and they want to hire dummies to be police officers, right? But at the same time, they want police officers to be infallible, right? They don't want to give police officers room to make mistakes. This is what they want, okay? And they want to be able to sue police officers civilly, right? To hold them civilly liable when they make a mistake, right? But yet you want to also hire dummies, right? People who aren't the brightest, okay? Or put it this way, they don't have a basic level of intelligence that I think is necessary to be a police officer, okay? Regardless of whether or not it directly impacts the job or has anything to do with the job, it just simply tests, okay, do you have a basic level of intelligence, right? A certain level of intelligence to do the job, right? And I just believe that it's important to measure that, right? When you're dealing with a job in which you're required to make split-second decisions, you have to do a lot of problem solving, investigative work, brainstorming, teamwork, stuff like that. Yeah, I think that we need people who are at least of average intelligence. I'm just saying. But hey, at the end of the day, what this really is an indictment on the public education system, right? You guys remember this story. We all remember this viral story. At 13 Baltimore City high schools, 0 students tested proficient on 2023 state math exam. So 0 students were proficient in math at 13 Baltimore City high schools. And then you wonder why you get stories like this where you have black police officers applying for a job and they can't pass the test, a math test, right? Basic math, okay? Can't pass the test, at least not at the same rate as whites. And then they want to boo-hoo, whine, and cry racism. No, it's not racism. The public schools and your parents and your community has failed you, okay? That is what's actually going on here. That's what's going on. But instead of raising the standards, which we should be raising the standards for everybody in society, okay? Telling people work harder, take some accountability, responsibility, take school seriously, right? Instead of doing stuff like that, no. Let's just lower the standards, right? Let's make the test easier so that blacks can pass it, right? Let's make the physical test easier so that women can pass it. And these same people will be boohoo, whining, and crying when somebody loses their life as a result of an officer making a silly mistake, a stupid mistake. They'll be boohoo, whine, and cry, talk about how the police need to be defunded and they need to hire better individuals and they need more training and this, that, and the other, right? They need higher standards. That's what they'll be calling for. We need higher standards, right? When a police officer makes a mistake. But yet, when police officers aren't hired because they can't meet the standard, oh, well, that's racism, right? Again, these people, they're not serious, okay? They're not serious. And stories like this are, I think, a great example of everything that's wrong with this country. We're not as great as we used to be because the American people are not as great as they used to be, right? We're just not as great as we used to be, right? And we're continuing to lower the standards. In order to make this country great again, the American people have to be great, okay? A country is only as great as its people. It's really that simple. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.